Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Simon Birks and Willi Roberts, both creators, a writer and artist of this new project about a short tale about from H.P. Lovecraft called "The Thing on the Doorstep." Uh, Simon is an award-winning comic book writer, Simon, and he created Blue Fox Comics. And this is people you have to know this. Simon helped funded at least 50 Kickstarter campaigns on with comics. Not 50, 50 not 15, 50. That's huge. That's huge. Okay. Besides a comic called Antarctica on Top Cow Image with Willi Roberts, and Willi Roberts is a comic book artist in Argentina who started working in comics as inker, as colorist, and now he's this magnificent artist that also worked with Simon in Antarctica. And now they have this nice project called, about H.P. Lovecraft, and we'll talk about this scary, scary comic because it's pretty scary. Okay, thank you for being here, Willi and Simon.
Oh, hello, man. How are
I'm going to ask, my question is going to be to both of you. Okay, it's more about the creative process. Okay, I try to make this interview shorter, shorter and dense. Okay, for example, what I recently read the things on the doorstep, the short tale. This book, I have this book. Okay. And after now I can say it's one of my favorites after The Alchemist from H.P. Lovecraft. Okay, what drew you to do this short tale? What is the things that got interesting as a writer, as an artist, to get in this story? Because Lovecraft, I think Lovecraft, he writes in a way that is the things he doesn't say or he doesn't explain got in your mind and you imagine. I don't know how he do that, but always happens when I read him. Wow, and imagine the tiny things he said. Okay, what drew you to work in this, to create this? What is the inspiration for this?
Simon?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. So basically, Blue Fox back in March 2020, or actually before then, just at the end of 2019, we were sent a book, an adaptation of The Mountains of Madness, and by Adam Fide, well, by Lovecraft, but Adam Fide did the art and the lettering. And I knew it would do well, and so I said, yes, please. I'd like to have that. I'd like to, Blue Fox would like to publish that, and that obviously did really well, and it did really well at sort of a time where the world was going wrong. So it gave me that was sort of really the first experience of Lovecraft I've had. So I thought, okay, there's obviously we've now got a fan base who follow Lovecraft. So I think I asked them a few questions to say, basically, what would you like to see next? And Shadow over Innsmouth was definitely one of them, but Thing on the Doorstep was another. So Thing on the Doorstep went on my reading or to read list, and then and when I got to it, I loved the first line. The first line is one of the best first lines you'll read anywhere. And it's basically how we start the comic as well, where he goes and shoots his friend and then and says, but I didn't shoot him, so that's not what I did. This is not what I did, even though it's quite obviously what he did in a way. So that was interesting, and that drew me in as a writer and as a reader. Really, I guess I liked the story as a reader first, and then because I didn't read it thinking, oh, I can definitely gonna adapt this. I just read it for enjoyment's sake. So and I liked it very much. And but I think when I got to the end, I thought, yes, I could really do something with this. And sat down and started doing the planning. And obviously I knew Woody because we'd done a previously very short Lovecraft, The Cats of Ulthar. So we did that one, and then so I immediately thought of Willi when I thought of when the thing on the doorstep when I was planning that out, and yeah, and obviously he worked his magic. So over to Willi.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, well, I remember the first project we were together and it was pretty cool, but we don't know each other that much. And then we start working on other projects on Blue Fox and Clodak. And after that, I remember we will start with the thing on the doorstep. I already read some kind of stories from Lovecraft, like Cthulhu and then Mountain of Madness. And I became really fan. And then when Simon approached with this project, it was like, for me at least, was very visual because it's like, it's not that common story from Lovecraft from all the other collection, right? It's like something for me more personal. And when Simon told me, send me the script, it was like, it's the way he writes, he makes so clear. And as an artist, it's probably the most important because you can see everything that happened in the story from the script, and that's really important for us because even if we bring something new to the project and all the visual aspect of the story, you need those words and you need that rhythm, the writing marks, right, all the time. So it's super cool first pages because the story starts that way, right, and then you go back and start to understand why Daniel do what he does, and that's pretty cool. And Simon always told me that send me the script and give me the freedom to work on the character designs. And as we say many times, this is a project that came really naturally for us. It was not struggle with probably anything. It was supernatural, and it was fun because we were. I remember it was like finishing the third chapter because we split in different ways and we took out. We were working on Blue Fox, and then was one Top-Cow approach with Antarctica project. So we had to stop the thing on the doorstep and jump into Antarctica for 2 years, I think.
Okay.
And then we went back to horror. That's why people tell me, okay, you move from science fiction to horror, and that was the other way around. We worked on many horror projects with Simon. So this is like where both feel comfortable, right? And then when Antarctica was more like something outside the box, and I think goes really good. And then we wait for over a year because Top-Cow already said they like the story, but we have to wait because the market was going crazy in 25, so we had to wait, and we didn't. We both hope that this project see the light, and then well, they approach us and say, okay, we want to publish this, and it was I have to work again in the project. I had to create and some pieces on the art. I have to change things because it was a pretty old project, so I feel like I can like a remaster version, right? And we have to create new covers. That was pretty fun because you have this time outside the project, and when you go back to this Lovecraft world, it's super fun, and we have a really creepy covers to show.
Yeah, Willi really went for the horror on the new covers, which is lovely. So, but yeah, and also, I mean, one of the things with this story is that there's so many of the lines. Literally, you'll just get one line, especially when he's talking about their childhood. So it was nice to be able to think, okay, well, how can I make that visual and build on the one line and make a scene out of it and get you to care about the characters, which is kind of the point. So yeah, so that was fun. So it was a challenge, but it was such a good story that yeah.
Well,
I was
so
happy.
you've been cooking this for a long time. That's logic because issue number 1 is out. I forgot to that. Is out now, and I love this. I love that. This is going to be spoiler. I'm sorry, but you changed it. How Daniel and Edward met, like childhood friendship. I love it because it's more logic, because they know each other for a long time from different worlds, because one is rich, the other is of other class, but how they met, how they knew each other from the beginning. That's to me is perfect, because it has the foundation of this friendship. Love it. So and also here's my second question. Okay, I hope it's not a spoiler that, but I imagine you will include more information that that the short tale has. For example, there is several events that happens that they're only narrated by Edward in a state of lunacy. And are you going to enrich that with the comic? That's parts when he go down long stairs and everything. I'm going to say spoilers. And you're going to enrich the story with that, talking about more about those events.
Well, one of the nice things about that journey, because they have that conversation in the car driving back, and Daniel's gone to pick him up, and he's just trying to explaining it. So in a way that was nice, because I was able to use Lovecraft's words there, so I was able to pick them off the page. So much else of it there isn't a lot of speech, but that bit there it's direct speech, so I did just grab that and we've got it in. But so really they're still in the car. Oh no, I think they start that conversation when he goes to picking up in jail, but then they have that and they continue it in the car journey. But that's what we see. We don't go further. We don't go down the steps. As in I don't picture that, or I don't show that as a scene. But I think what we do and what Willi does is just it builds the tension and so much. And when the thing that happens towards the end of that conversation happens, I think it's chilling. I think it's
horrible.
Yeah.
Indeed. And Willi open his eyes. I imagine that you draw that part and scare you.
Yeah, that's the most funny part of this process, when Simon gave me the freedom to build let's say a scene, right, in 5 panels, and that we say many times. It's pretty hard to work on horror in comics because you lose so many elements, right? Like the sound and the movement that you have in another genre, right? Like movies. So you have to try to create that tension in a different way. You have to be very wise to move every shot of the camera, and you try to put things in order to create that tension, because it's pretty hard to make a jump scare, right, with graphic novels. So you have to adapt your arts, and you have to work a lot of shadow, texture, and the tone of the scene. So we work hard to make some scenes. I don't want to spoil anything, even if the book has like 100 years now, but we create different scenes in the 5 issues that you're gonna see later. And I think there's one I remember now that we were discussing a little bit, because it's easy to make it with a camera, but it's really hard to make it with panels, right? So we had to use an entire page to create that tension. Is one when I think it's the same that Simon Birks told me recently. It's like the one in the car, right? It's like we make this kind of approach because you see the transformation in Edward, and you don't see the transformation in his face. It's like you see through Daniel's eyes, so you get closer to the eyes, and then you see the reflection. Yes. And we create something really cool that at least for me is super fresh to see in comic books. And there's a lot of other scenes that we really proud of.
Okay. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Okay. Sorry again, another spoiler, but Asena, that lovely woman.
Yeah.
Can you give us how he's going to be so distinctive? How you imagine as a teenager, or you imagine as older? I don't know. how's going to be Asenath? Because she's going to mess everything up. I like her. I like her a lot. Well, I can't say any spoiler, but how is going to be the triumphant entrant of Asenath?
I think I think it's a great. She's introduced for it really well. I think it's. I mean, again, in the story she is as well. I mean, it's pretty close to the story how we meet her and how Edward meets her. But the scene just after he meets her, that's fantastic. That's really skin crawly. It's a little bit. I mean, a little bit. This is almost a body horror type story in a way. So, but there was certainly a bit of that, well, a lot of that, when we have that. Yeah, Asenath is, it's you wouldn't want to meet her, somewhere lonely. It's she's quite, she's quite formidable. So, but yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I think we have a different version, right? Because I don't recall if in the book is blonde, so maybe we talk about this when we work on the first pages and the character design. I think we go to dark hair because we give it that kind of sinister look, and there's something about the face, the structure of the face, because she belongs all to the universe, the Innsmouth, and everything there is different. So we have to capture that a little bit, and there was some elements that you can recognize, like she belongs to the Lovecraft universe, right? And we try to get that in that character because it's antagonist, right? It's somebody who, when she appears in the comics, it's like, okay, she's here. It's give you that kind of weird feeling, right? Like she's not a good girl at all. There's something else, and I think we get that in the comic.
Yeah, everyone behaves themselves. Everyone behaves themselves when she's around.
Yeah.
She's a daughter of his dad, of course. Okay. For example, this happens to me when I read the book. When I read the book, I didn't get that, but now it's logic, of course, that H.P. Lovecraft based Edward on himself. I didn't get that when I read it. But when I read the comic, it's logic. Edward is Lovecraft. Simple as that to me. That guy that had money, that then has some financial problems, everything. So reading comics to me is amazing. It's amazing that how all these years never cease to impress me, comics. Are you aware of this power that has comics as informative, educational, that explains something that is logic when you read it, but when you see the comic, when you got the structure, when the corporal, the language of the bodies, of the expressions, of course, that's Lovecraft. Are you aware of this power? I never thought that this is going to happen like that, but to me, happened like that. Edward is Lovecraft.
Yeah, Willi. I mean, certainly.
Yeah. I think I saw a documentary from Lovecraft and probably mentioned that, like, he's almost every writer put in some level himself in the story, right? But yeah, I can see Edward in Lovecraft because he wasn't a popular guy. I think there was a lot of issues with his mom and his mental state, and there's a lot of there when I remember that documentary and it talks about the mental diseases his mother has in Lovecraft life, and that make a huge impact in his work, I think. So Arcanacism and all that is part of his childhood. I think there's a lot of background story from Lovecraft in that book, and yeah, we try to capture that. I think, but yeah, we can talk for hours about his work. But yeah, you can see this is not somebody who have a easy life. You can see in his work and see and his writing, right?
But I think also, obviously, as you're saying, comics in themselves, the fact that you can sit there, it's not a moving picture. It is you've got the pages, you can take your time over it. So I think that is one of the powers of comics, and you can sit there and you can realize things like that. You can think, oh, okay, yeah, now that it's not suddenly happening and oh my God, it's the next scene, now it's the next scene. You can take time and you can breathe and you can realize things. So yeah, so I think that it is the perfect medium, or yet another perfect medium to experience stories in. So I mean, I think this is why it's exciting. There's when we go to conventions, there's a lot of people who come up and they'll see the Lovecraft adaptations and they'll say, oh, it must be difficult because everything's, indescribable sort of thing when it comes to Lovecraft. But the thing is, we're putting our own take on it. When you do an adaptation, when you do anything like this, you have to, put your own mark on it and create the creatures that he didn't want to describe really. So yeah, and it's lovely, to be able to do that. And yeah, and I think we've done, and I think the monsters well, the monsters in this book are horrifying, really. So yeah, I think Willi did an excellent job of capturing sheer terror.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Indeed. For example, if you read people, you have to read. The first splash is Daniel shooting Edward. Okay, that how the book begins, how the comic begins. I love that because it's shocking. You read that, you have to flip the page because what happens there? And you capture. I think comics or books or movies. To me, the better one is the ones that talks about the place they are. Okay, cultural, fashion, whatever, the pop culture of that moment. When the book reflects that, and you take the risk of just adapt exactly the year that Lovecraft wrote that, I think 1930. Okay, so how was the process of research, the costumes, the places, the things that something like Arkham, this place Arkham, that is horrible.
Tricky, man. Yeah. I had to work a lot of research work, and because I can conceive the story in the present, right? It's like when you read it, every line of the story is like, yeah, in the 30s, right? It's like that's the perfect time, and there's a combination between horror and that particular time, the mix perfectly, right? It's like you can use all the tones, all the colors that we choose for the comic because
it's quite a gothic tale, isn't it? It's quite a gothic tale in a way. So.
Yeah, exactly. Super gothic. Yeah, exactly. And we made it. We spoke about this, and we made it like if you see the brushes of the painting, it's like an old painting, right? It's not just modern. You can see the texture, the different level of texture that we use to create something like an antique painting, right? And that gives even more old age vibe. And we work hard on the tones because we didn't want to use so bright colors. We keep it in a really low range of tones, and that gives the mood of the story. I think is pretty cool.
Exactly. Well, I think the tone you got for the first issue, okay, well, is it's called to me Morcor because it's gothic, but plays with atmosphere, with the landscape. Is this week for this is something that happens by chance. I saw this week with Wuthering Heights, the new movie with Margot Robbie and this guy, Jacob Elordi. And I saw that. Oh my God, this is the thing in the doorstep. Has that tone. You have to use strong colors, warm colors to scare. Or you play with that. You play with that and the atmosphere, everything. Of course, Wuthering Heights is more Victorian, but has that gothic that you use. So I think, wow, if this comic has to be adapted, has to be that tone that you got. You I don't know. I saw that movie I think days ago, I say, oh my God, this is the thing, the doorstep. Or maybe I'm obsessed with the comic.
I took reference from many movies. It's not like all mine. I take reference from concept artists as well. And there's now that you mentioned, there's a scene that Simon described like it's a really hot day in summer, right? I don't know which issue it's gonna be, but it was tricky. But we had to create this kind of sunshine light, right?
Okay.
And the tone of this beautiful day. But in that story, you have to make it like super exhausting. Yeah, like it's like the sun is burning you now. Like okay,
it's hurting you
in the garden. Yeah, and we matched the perfect tone in that story because there was a couple of lines when Edward is sweating because he's suffering so much, and we use that to create a kind of bright tone, but it's like you don't feel like it's a beautiful sunny day. It's like, oh my God,
it's killing me.
Like hell. Yeah, we're gonna see it later. And that was I think it's the only shot we make a little different, but the rest of the tone is like you say, it's more gothic, it's more like Victorian, and we keep it that way. We work really hard with the atmosphere. There's a lot of scenes that is all atmosphere, the tone, the mist, and it's worked perfectly when you in comic books. Is so because you mix art with that tension and the script, and there's a lot of there.
Okay. And for example, to me, the Lovecraft stories that I love more are the ones that it has a full cosmic horror, but always try to explain with science what is going on. To me, that's fun for Lovecraft, because even he tries to explain this with science, is beyond science or is beyond our understanding. So that's the formula to me to best Lovecraft, and you got it. You in issue one you got that, because Daniel is trying to explain what's going on, because he doesn't believe what's going on. So with Antarctica, for example, you work in Antarctica. To me, is the central thing is a story about a father and her daughter, a relationship, and everything, all the science fiction is to write that.
Yeah.
Now, with this book, what is the central thing you're going to develop? The friendship or the relationship? Because with this lovely lady, what is the central thing you're going to explode, and then got all the cosmic horror around?
Yeah. I think the thing on the doorstep is essentially the story of Edward and Daniel's friendship, and and of how Daniel tries everything that he could possibly do, and is supported by his own family to try and help Edward, as Edward deteriorates, shall we say? It's that for me, that's what holds it together. If people don't read it and understand that friendship, then what happens at the end isn't going to hit them as hard as I want it to, and that's what as we want it to, that's what I want to do. So that for me, that was the biggest thing, to show that friendship. But yes, but over to you, Willi.
I always feel more connected with the relationship and more than the friendship. The friendship is beautiful because, like you said, Dave, it's from the childhood, right? And that gives a plus because they spend the entire life together, they support each other, and that's what Daniel does. The entire book for me is like supporting his best friend, even in time when he make the wrong decision. Not just us, and every decision is like you losing your friend, and that's something that you can apply to life, right? It happened to us many times when you see the friend is going to a really wrong relationship, but you have to be there just to support. You can interfere with his decision, and that's something that happened in the entire book. And I always felt really connected with the relationship between Asenath and Daniel and Edward, and there was something about Edward personality, right? It's like somebody who needs and is that kind of weak personality that brings open the doors to this kind of horrible person, and that's happened a lot. It's something that Simon really captured with this character. I think you feel, you feel that pain in your, because you start seeing what happened with Edward, and you feel like you want to help it, right? When you read it, this is like, I want to shut him up and leave it and take it and go really far. And probably when there's something that is perfectly shown in this story. I really like this part of the story. It's super cool. I love how Simon, portrayed this beautiful character.
And the fact that obviously you do see Edward deteriorate through the book as well is quite, as I'm sitting here, I'm realizing, obviously, because you only see Edward almost when he's talking to either Daniel or Carlo, or that's when you see them. And and each time, so there's these swathes of time, there's these periods of time where poor old Edward is on his own with Asenath. So you feel desperate and you want to help. I quite agree. I think that's what I want to. That's what if that's what people are feeling, then that's a good thing. We've done it right. So.
No, and I see, if you read the comic, please read the comic, people. When Edward meets, when Daniel meets Edward in the beginning, that's not the face of Edward. Edward is deteriorated. And then when you read the book, wow, Edward is not like that. So, of course, like you play with that. The comic has that power, it gives you those hints that you have to pick and put there and never forget, because there are key moments. In this first issue is perfect. Well, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for those wonderful answers. I can wait for issue number 2. If 5 parts, please, people, number 1 is out. Don't miss it. I'm going to share just the preview. This is in the Image Comics page, okay? But I have to share this because it's magnificent. This moment, the comic starts with this, and people, you have, that's Daniel. Daniel, of course, is also deteriorated because he's not fine too, because he's going to do something terrible. And please read this comic. It's magnificent. And thank you again, Willi and Simon, for your time. And I hope your will collaborate soon after this in another one right away. I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Bye.